I rise today to honor the life of my friend, Congressman Walter Jones, Jr., a man who was known by all of us throughout his many years serving in this chamber for his kindness, his Southern charm, and his big heart, his fierce independence, and his pursuit of peace. Walter left us on February 10th, his 76th birthday. He lived a long life of service, 4 years in the North Carolina National Guard, 10 years in the North Carolina General Assembly, and nearly 25 years serving in these halls. Walter stayed true to himself throughout this time, following his heart. He was never afraid to challenge the status quo, often to the chagrin of leaders. We found a common bond and friendship around shared ideals of putting people before politics, putting service above self. He knew that when we see each other as people, as public servants, not just as Republicans and Democrats, that this is when we have the opportunity to find common ground and work toward our common goal of serving the people of this country. Now, in 2002, Walter voted for the Iraq War, the war that I served in, the war that took the lives of my brothers and sisters in uniform, the war that took the lives of over 4,000 U.S. service members and over 100,000 Iraqis. Walter shared with me, as he shared with many others, that this vote that he took was the biggest regret of his time in public service. He shared how when he attended a funeral at Camp Lejeune for a 31-year-old Marine who was killed in Iraq in March of 2003 while evacuating wounded troops, everything changed for Walter. Because he sat there and he heard this Marine's widow in front of their 3 children read the final letter that this Marine sergeant sent home. And he saw those 3 kids, knowing that they would never see their father again. This impacted him so deeply, and maybe for the first time caused him to realize the cost of war and who pays the price. So Walter started writing, and he wrote over 12,000 letters to families who lost their loved ones in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and shared how he begged God to forgive him for his mistake. He memorialized those who died from North Carolina's Camp Lejeune, as you see here, with photos that he displayed for all to see before they could come inside his office here in Washington. He became a leading voice, not just in his party, but in Congress, pushing for additional oversight over matters of war and peace. He called for ending illegal regime change wars that put our troops' lives on the line, leaving their families behind. And he pointed out that our taxpayer dollars should not be used to be the policeman of the world. Walter and I didn't agree on many things, but we also found many opportunities to work together on things that we strongly believed in. We co-sponsored and co-led the No More Presidential Wars Act, which rightly put the responsibility back in Congress's hand to declare war as the Constitution provides. He co-sponsored my bill, the Stop Arming Terrorists Act, to make sure that taxpayer dollars are not being used to directly and indirectly fund terrorist groups, as we have seen done in both Syria and Yemen. We co-sponsored the Weekend Voting Act to strengthen voting rights. We worked together to strengthen civil liberties and privacy, upholding our Fourth Amendment rights. Walter was courageous. He didn't care about party politics, and as a result, he suffered the consequences in tough primary elections, but he didn't care. He didn't care. He never hesitated to stand up for what he believed in. So while Walter and I were 2 very different people, coming from two very different places, Walter was my dear friend, fellow service member, and my brother. He will be deeply missed, and my heart and prayers go out to his family, his friends, and his loved ones. And we all know that Walter's legacy of service and his principles and values will continue to live on in Washington, in the halls of Congress, and in the lives of the many people who he touched. I yield back.